Hello everyone, my name is Madison Audette and I will be giving my presentation entitled Wasting Away Every Day in Ballet. So the topic of this presentation is eating disorders in ballet dancers. And my main point is that George Balanchine and his ballet company, the New York City Ballet, are encouraging dancers to be unnaturally skinny, which has led to the development of eating disorders. This is important because eating disorders and ballet dancers still continue today. We will be exploring this topic by discussing George Balanchine's influence through his history and company, by discussing the impact of 60s fashion. We will look at some case studies that show the risks and impact of eating disorders in dancers, and possible treatments for eating disorders, and finally concluding with some possible solutions. So, George Balanchine started ballet dancing at age 9, and he came to the United States in 1933 after a successful career in Europe. He helped create ballet schools like the School of American Ballet. In 1946, he helped create a company called the Ballet Society. The chairman of the City Center Finance Committee, Moreton Brahm, saw a performance of this company and he was very impressed. He made it so that the company would get an invitation to join the City Center Municipal Complex. Balanchine's company accepted and became the New York City Ballet. And the New York City Ballet was founded in 1948. And Balanchine was the artistic director until his death. It is estimated that he created 465 works in his lifetime. So the New York City Ballet and Balanchine's influences. Balanchine described the visual aspect of dance to be the most important. It was said that he turned bodies into his ideal medium. An example of this ideal medium was Suzanne Farrell. She was thin and short, and she had thin hips and small breasts. Other dancers from the New York City Ballet wanted this body type and were encouraged by Balanchine to achieve it. One of these other dancers was Gelsey Kirkland. She said that Balanchine encouraged her to achieve this ideal body type by eating less food and saying that her ribs should be visible. So what about today? It says on the New York City Ballet's website, today, the New York City Ballet and the School of American Ballet remain dedicated to the preservation of Balanchine's ideals. What ideals are not specified, but this general statement leaves a confusing message as to what ideals they do promote, such as Balanchine's body's ideals. Continuing on to 60s fashion. The idolization of Balanchine began in the 60s, and fashion also changed and impacted ballet attire at this time. So general fashion became tighter and shorter, and the clothing was generally more revealing. Ballet attire also followed suit, became tighter, and was more revealing. They even cut their leotards in half, which was more revealing. And here we can see a comparison of the general fashion in the 60s compared to some ballet attire. So we see the shortening of the skirt and the tightness of the bodice in both of these pictures. Now we're going to be moving on to some case study methods. So in these case studies that I'm going to be talking about, they do tests like the ones listed here. They were used in most of these case studies, as well as tests to indicate general mental health. So we have the EAT test, or the EAT, the Eating Attitudes Test, which is generally used to diagnose symptoms of anorexia, and they use specifically EAT 26 and 40. They also used BITE, the Bulimic Investigation Test of Edinburgh, which was to identify symptoms of bulimia. The BIQ, which is the Body Image Questionnaire, which identifies a person's satisfaction or unsatisfaction with their body image. This was also called the BSQ, the Body Shape Questionnaire. All right. So case study 1 was entitled Perfectionism and Learning Experiences in Dance Class as a Risk Factors for Eating Disorders in Dancers. This study did other questionnaires regarding eating disorders besides the one mentioned. The study was done as an online questionnaire on dancers aged 18 to 30. There were in total 142 participants. These dancers were from various studios and dance organizations in Perth, Australia, and surrounding areas. They also conducted a questionnaire in which they were asked questions regarding personal thinness and eating habits. And the purpose of the study was to investigate a possible correlation between perfectionism, encouragement of thinness in class, expectation of eating habits regarding thinness, and the development of eating disorders. This study found a correlation between perfectionism, encouragement of thinness in class, and the development of eating disorders. This study addressed the issue of wanting a perfect body like the one approved by Balanchine. Our second case study was entitled Eating Disorders and Dissatisfaction with Body Image in Dancers. This study used questionnaires addressed earlier, specifically the EAT, BITE, and the BIQ. The study was done on ballet dancers aged 15 to 19 in São Luís, Brazil. These were non-professional dancers. There were 30 of them, and they were of both sexes. So 21 of them were female and 9 were male that participated in this study. The purpose of the study was to assess the risk for developing eating disorders. And the result was that they had 30% risk for developing anorexia nervosa, 40% for bulimia nervosa, and 26.7% were not satisfied with their body image, even though the majority of the dancers were at a healthy weight. There was no significant difference between male and female participants. Female participants are more likely to develop, even though female participants are more likely to develop these kinds of eating disorders. And this was determined by the study to be because of the pressure of ballet on both sexes. Our third case study was entitled Identifying High School Dance Students Who Will Develop an Eating Disorder, a one-year prospective study. This study used questionnaires addressed earlier as well as interviews. The students, both in the questionnaire and both who participated in the interview, were asked questions about body shape, and tests were used to identify for symptoms of anorexia nervosa, binge eating disorders, and unspecified eating disorders. This study was done on high school-aged girls, and these students were enrolled at schools in Taiwan that specified in creating professional working dancers. The purpose was to see who develops eating disorders and if any changes occurred over the course of a year. So they took the tests and then took them again 1 year later, and the results were compared. The findings were that less than half of those who had eating disorders recovered after a year, and those with higher scores on the BITE test predicted the development of eating disorders. And this study connected these results to ballet's culture of thin. So what is being done about this? In the magazine article, The Cult of Thin, risks and actions are discussed. So some of the risks that are associated with having these eating disorders are damage to protein stores, loss of strength and power, increased fracture risk, emotional instability, and death. An unfortunate example is Heidi Gunther, a dancer at the Boston Ballet who died dealing with an eating disorder at 22. Some of the actions that professional companies have been taking against these problems have been promoting wellness programs and have been accepting more body types into their companies. But is this enough? In short, no. There are no universal guidelines for these programs. And as such, dancers have been taught how to lose weight in a healthy way to achieve the unnatural thinness that is desired of ballet dancers. And also, not every company is on board. Jennifer Ringer, who is a ballet dancer, and she is depicted here, a former New York City principal dancer, she said that in order for actual change to happen, everyone needs to participate. And I agree. Our last case study was entitled Intervention in an Elite Ballet School, an attempt at decreasing eating disorders and injury. This study used some of the questionnaires addressed earlier, along with food intake, activity levels, physical examinations, and medical interviews. This was a 2-year study to see if education would help decrease unhealthy eating behaviors and their risks, such as reproductive problems and stress fractures. This study was done on girls aged 13 to 17. In total, there were 39 female participants from the School of American Ballet. So basically, these researchers had them take these tests. After 1 year, they took this information from the dancers again and then began an intervention. These dancers attended lectures given by an endocrinologist who addresses reproductive health, a nutritionist, a psychologist, and a physical therapist. Those students who were having a problem in one or more of these areas were offered more sessions in specialized health. But unfortunately, only 8 of these dancers actually completed the study. The study found that those who completed the study did not improve a lot, but did not get worse. Those who did not complete the study did actually get worse. The students who completed the study were also older and did not have very severe symptoms from the start, whereas those who did not complete the study were younger and had more severe symptoms from the start. So now that we've looked at all of this, what is the takeaway? So I don't think we need to focus on putting a blame on someone. We need to focus on fixing this problem. And I don't think we need to worry about changing the ballet attire, because it is important to see the lines that ballet dancers need to learn to create. But in order to prevent unhealthy thoughts and body imagery from that, we need to increase positive language and increase the inclusion of all body types as an open conversation in the classroom. I also think that changing the language used in the classroom when comparing dancers is also important. So as we see up here, we have a ballet dancer doing an arabesque. If a teacher used this ballet dancer, instead of the teacher saying, "I want you to look just like her," the teacher could say, "I want you to position your body just like her." And so that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it. And here are my citations.